Bitcoin. They just needed the cash. They were worried by the Shanghai shutdowns and thought they may need the liquidity. I am calling BS on this because they had something like 16 or 17 billion dollars of cash on hand. Did they really need that
Mm,
900 million, or did they think that Bitcoin was going down in value and they should get out of it? What I think is interesting, they sold the Bitcoin at a gain, right? Um, but that was offset by the remaining Bitcoin they have on their balance sheet, which they had to take a loss on or an impairment charge. So they
I
lost.
see.
The net effect was $106 million decrease, uh, or a loss. I shouldn't call it a loss because they made money from the sale, they lost money from the impairment. The net effect on that was a negative $106 million. It's the best I can explain it. I thought it was very weird that they did not disclose that anywhere in their filing. It wasn't anywhere in their income statement. It wasn't anywhere in their cash flow statement. The way that they worded it in their cash flow statement was that, oh, we made $936 million. Like, yeah, you realized $936 million, but you didn't say what the gain was. It's
Mm,
very strange. They're also over 100,000 Tesla drivers are testing the full self driving beta. That's a large number of vehicles out there that could run over pedestrians at any time. Uh, I mean, I have a Tesla. I paid for full self driving. I have not installed it yet because I don't trust it. And I think releasing something that's a life and death security thing in beta is a ridiculous, terrible idea.
yeah, it's scary.
Yeah, but it is like for them, it's like this cash cow, right? Because there's idiots like me who bought the car. I bought a car in 2018 and I paid for the full self driving package then, but I haven't had it installed yet, so they can't realize that segment of revenue from me until they install it in my car.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So that's like the snowball effect that is still on their income statement. That once more of their vehicles, I think they, I don't think they actually mentioned it, but they reached 2 million vehicles delivered during the quarter or recently. Um, for only 100,000 to be testing it, that shows you like it's not like a huge amount of people relative to how many cars are on the road. So that's that like there's a white whale for them there. But then there's also people who don't buy FSD because they see it almost run over a pedestrian or something, and they're like, you know what, I'm gonna wait. So yeah, that is kind of this weird thing that analysts are always trying to nail them down on. The other thing going on is Elon Musk. He wants you to refine lithium. He really, really, really wants us all to get out there and refine lithium. He said that it's a license to print money, and that I believe he said something like something ridiculous. He said,
Yeah, let me drop that article in here.
yeah, you can't lose. And he said you have software type margins on the lithium refining business. So there's some speculation in the industry that Tesla themselves are going to do something on that front. Uh, that remains to be seen. It, it's uh, it's it wouldn't be that surprising if they did that, but he went on to say, because there were several questions about demand for electric vehicles, demand for Teslas. Has raising the price affected demand? Has the economy slowing affected demand? Has inflation affected demand? There's like 400,000 some pre-orders for the Cybertruck, right? Like there are a lot of people in line to get the Model Y, the Model 3, the S, and the X. There is no demand issue at Tesla, and there hasn't been for years. They can't make enough cars fast enough. That's the problem, and it's still the problem. So what is constraining them? They are ramping up two factories right now, and they're wrapping up the ramp up of a third factory right now. So Shanghai achieved its highest output in June after the lockdown. Because Shanghai's being a little more safe about COVID than the rest of the world. Uh, and at the same time, Germany and Austin gigafactories are ramping up. They're going to have capacity to make somewhere near 2 million vehicles by the end of the year, but lithium ion, refined lithium ion, is the number one constraint for the company. So Elon went as far to say that lithium ion battery cell supply is a fundamental constraint for the global transition to sustainable energy. So this is not just about Tesla. This is about the entire automobile industry and transit in general shifting over uh, to electric and sustainable energy. So, if we're gonna have battery packs that we store stuff in, like if you have solar at your house, you need a battery for that. The vehicles are going to be battery powered in this Elon Musk future that he's describing. I thought this was interesting. A lot of people have focused on the transition to the 4680 cell that they're working on. It sounds like there are some issues going on there, but Tesla has actually gone out and worked with other battery suppliers, mainly Panasonic and LG, I think, to use 2170 cell supply for all the vehicles being made in 2022. So this is something where people thought we were going to be last year, because if you ever follow Tesla, everything gets delayed. Last year, people thought we were already going to see Cybertrucks on the road running on 4680 battery packs. That's not the case, obviously. But the company basically said we're still going to grow our deliveries by 50% this year, but we're not using 4680s. We're going to be using 27 or 2170s that are made by other companies to fulfill that. Musk also went on to say that the Cybertruck will be available in the middle of 2023. No mention of the Roadster, which I bought in 2017, Denny. 2017. It's 2022, and not even a word. Just
You
the
know,
level of
if he had a
disrespect.
child, they could have graduated from college by now.
Seriously. I could have used that money to pay for their college. Jeez. Luckily, no kids here. But yeah, so those were like kind of the highlights, I think, from the quarter. Uh, I do think they were being really shady about the motivation for their Bitcoin sale. One point I would make is without the sale of their Bitcoin, Tesla would have had a negative cash flow quarter for the first time in like over a year. Uh, so that I think there was some financial engineering this quarter. Uh, I I wish they were more honest about why they sold their Bitcoin. Elon tried to say, um, let me see if I can find it. Yeah, he said he tried to blame COVID for it. We were uncertain when the COVID lockdowns would end in China, so we sold our Bitcoin. Does that make any sense? Like, I don't understand how those two things relate. And then he said that Tesla may add to their Bitcoin position in the future, adding that they still have their Dogecoin position. So I,
Yeah, I don't know. Still sounds pretty dodgy.
it's shady because, like I said, they would have had a negative cash flow quarter if it wasn't for the Bitcoin sale. Uh, but the net effect of it was I don't know, shady. Like the fact that I had to wait for the conference call to hear that data point speaks to how little they wanted to talk about it, right? But yeah, I remain confused as to what their stance on cryptocurrency is. They really tried to dance around that because a common criticism, which I think is fair, of cryptocurrency is that it uses a shit ton of energy, and that's not very efficient. That's not very green. I know Ethereum's been working on instead of proof of work, proof of stake or something like a different tech behind it that would use less energy, but Bitcoin specifically, it uses a lot of energy when you mine it. So they didn't really answer that. Like they were asked about
Yeah.
it, they didn't really answer it.
Seeing what they
Uh,
want to just avoid that sand trap. Uh,
and Elon Musk really seems to believe that full self driving is coming. Uh, he has. It's like it is his Half Life 3. He has every
oh,
year he's like, oh yeah, by the end of the year we'll have FSD out there, and then it doesn't come. You know, uh, so its FSD beta is going to be available to everyone by the end of the year. That's his latest claim, and that goes back to what I was saying. They're doing this for revenue recognition more than they are because the product is ready. I think so. That's weird. Yeah. They talked about battery chemistry quite a bit on this call. Clearly, lithium is an issue. Uh, in previous calls, Elon had called for nickel, but now it appears that lithium is the main constraint. Talked about how iron phosphate's probably going to be used for the majority of batteries. They confuse and conflate their deliveries. They deliver used cars. They're counting them as delivery. They're conflating the sale of new car. I agree. They do not break out used and new cars. That is a very good point. But I I can only analyze what is in front of us, right? But I agree with you. We're not going to get honesty from this company. But at the same time, before they added Bitcoin to their balance sheet, it was a little bit easier to understand this company. Now it's like, okay, so this Bitcoin holding is going to be an issue every quarter now. Uh, I think it's dumb. I think it created a balance sheet risk for no reason. That could have just if you just sit in cash, Denny, like that's it. Like you don't have to tell everyone, hey, our cash is
yeah.
worth this much relative to this. Like no one cares. They're like you're in dollars, that's fine. But I think they're being really weird with how they're handling crypto in general. One little thing about how they iterate, I thought was kind of neat. There was this picture of the Tesla's crash test dummy riding in the vehicle. They are using their camera tech and their neural net to predict when an accident is going to happen, so that your seatbelt is like restraining you before the impact. I thought that's kind of neat. And that's something that really only a car with cameras on it could do.
No.
But it's kind of like pre-crime, right? Like the car knows it's about to be in an accident. Like it doesn't, you can't stop the accident, but it knows it's about to be in an accident. So I thought that was kind of interesting. It speaks to their tech being kind of cool. Uh, on the semiconductor front, that was one of the last questions actually on the call. Elon mentioned how Tesla is almost as much of a software company as they are a hardware company,
Yeah, I
and
did
that
hear that.
and they're using software to handle some of the hardware limitations. So if there is a way for them to code around having a chip that's in supply constraint situations, they're doing that. I think that's kind of cool. Like there's Elon Musk, the d bag, and then there's the company Tesla. I think there's a lot of really talented engineers at Tesla, and they're doing some really cool stuff. So yeah, they're continuing to work on that front. He was really cagey about Dojo, which is the AI chipset that they're going to use in their final version of full self-driving robotaxis, and Optimus. He said tune in on AI Day for that. So he didn't want. Normally, Elon will spoil everything, but he decided to let people know that they should just tune in on AI Day because they might have something. He said that people are probably have lower expectations for FSD than they do internally right now. I don't know if that's true or not. Companies being valued at 700 some billion
Yeah.
dollars, and a lot of that is built on expectations for a robo taxi future and stuff. So if that doesn't come to fruition, that'll be bad for the stock. So I understand why he's talking it up, but so far we haven't seen an actual Optimus robot uh, yet. So I'm not sure if we should get too excited about that. They're not. They said they're not interested in making chips, but at the same time, they do have some chips that they have designed that are inside of Teslas already. So that was a weird, we're not doing it, we're doing it kind of answer when it came to making their own chips. But I think, it's really expensive to build a chip foundry, and they're not even remotely close to what an automobile factory would be. So I don't think there's a whole lot of overlap there. Taiwan Semiconductor is scaling up, so I'm sure that's who he was talking about there. Maybe Samsung. But yeah, they're working on some stuff. They asked if Elon was thinking about uh, a post Elon Tesla, like him stepping down as CEO or moving on to
Yeah.
SpaceX or wherever, or to father his 50th kid or whatever. Um, they said, "Where do you see your role at Tesla going over the next 3 to 4 years?" And he said, "I will work at Tesla as long as I can help." And then it was like the mission, fostering sustainable transport and energy. So I don't think he views where they're at today as a victory condition. So I think he'll stay at the company as long as the shareholders will have him. Uh, they followed up saying, "You said you were not going to be on these calls going forward, like 3 quarters ago, right?" And he's been on every call since. So they're like, "What is it going to take for us to be free of you?" No, it was more like, are you going back on that statement? And he said, "If there is only good news in a quarter, I won't be on the call." It was his answer. And he said there's been a lot of weird things. Like this time it was the China shutdown for COVID. They've had issues in the past with supply chains and raising prices. And so basically, he's never going to, he's going to be
Yeah,
on every
he's gonna
call.
be on every call pretty much because there's no
Yeah.
way.
There's no way that there's not going to be something that this guy doesn't see a problem with. So, and he just loves hearing himself talk. So I'm pretty sure he'll be there. Uh, Yeah, he said that we don't want a long backlog, because like I said, there's 400,000 people out there who are waiting for a Cybertruck to be delivered, and now
Hmm.
not all of them are going to buy it because it was only $100 down to get the pre-order, but a large amount of them will. There's still a huge ass wait list for the Model Y. He said if you order a Model Y today, you won't get it till the middle of next year probably. So that's an issue.
Yeah, that
It's
turnaround
also
time is
like
rough.
like it's kind of undeniable though. I don't know about where you live, but like I don't live in like the fanciest town in America, but I see a lot of Model Ys and a lot of Model 3s now on the street. So I think that like people are buying these things, and it's not. I don't think demand for Tesla has been affected by Elon or Twitter yet.
Yeah, the
Uh,
types I think that would go for a Tesla aren't going to stop going for a Tesla. It's not a
no,
thing right
and
now.
And even if Elon is a d-bag, like the car is still an aspirational thing. It's a cool techie kind of product. I think
No.
people can like you can see how it's different than a gas-powered vehicle pretty easily. So I honestly I've compared this to the transition from CD Discman to iPod MP3 player, right? So like there was a few years where people were using both, and you remember that like MP3 CD Discman?
Oh yeah.
That was like a thing for like a year. So like that's kind of hybrids, right? And then we have we have a lot of companies that are now entering the EV space. There's like an EV Hummer. There's like GM, Ford, Hyundai, Honda, Toyota. Sony and Toyota are working together on a joint venture for an EV. So like he has and Tesla has like pushed forward the transition to electric vehicles. And now it's like getting the grid to catch up to where we're at, I think is kind of an important thing. So, yeah, this was interesting. This was definitely an interesting quarter for them. I didn't think it was all bad. I mean, they beat on earnings, but we know why they beat on earnings. They were firing people at the end of this quarter,
You know.
so they lowered costs that way. Um, and then, yeah, like I said, the positive cash flow wouldn't have happened without the sale of this Bitcoin. So you're only going to be able to sell your Bitcoin so much, and then you won't have any on the balance sheet to go to. So we'll see. But I really think out of everything, that was the thing where I was like, they're really being cagey about this. And I didn't appreciate it. And I also think that like they're kind of the slowdown of this ramp to 4680 is troubling because they're not going to ship Cybertruck without this new battery tech. So I could see Cybertruck slip again. Musk did say some stuff about inflation too. He said like he expects inflation to slow by the end of this year, third quarter or fourth quarter. But at the same time, he said that like making macroeconomic prognostications is not really his job. Uh, oh yeah, someone did ask him about Andre Karpathy leaving Tesla. He's the director of the AI team. How do you feel about the progress of FSD, and did Karpathy leaving hurt? Elon, instead of directly addressing this, sarcastically said that Andre was writing all the code by himself. And that's just weird. I thought that was a weird thing to say to someone you like about someone you've worked with for 5 years.
Yeah, I do remember just the way he delivered the line was kind of cold.
Snarky and just
Yeah.
kind of shitty. And this is just rumors, and this is more just TMZ nonsense, but there's a rumor that the lady at Neuralink that Elon had knocked up with twins was Karpathy's ex-girlfriend, and that had created friction.
Yeah, that's messy.
Yeah. Elon really should stop having sex with people at all of his companies. That'd be a professional thing to do. That could have been a question.
Do you think like do you think like the Twitter situation would have had any impact on the Tesla end that we didn't really see anyone ask anything about?
I think they intentionally avoided that question because it would have triggered him and stuff. But yeah, I think that the Twitter situation has put a negative light on Tesla. It is putting Elon in a weird place. His actual shares he had to sell, so he actually affected the share price when he did that. Yeah, I wish that they would have asked something about that, but I understand why people were. If you're an analyst, you're only in that back 30 minutes, and you're trying to get your two questions out because not every analyst on the queue even gets to ask a question. So I understand why they didn't like waste it on that, but I thought maybe a shareholder would have. The other thing that I was kind of upset about, and this is just as a shareholder, I think Tesla has some explaining to do on this front. Uh, I wrote this story yesterday about their board recommending shareholders vote against the employees' rights to form a union. Not a single question about unionization on this call. I thought that was fucked up, and it should have been brought up. Um, Also, the other stuff that they were saying they don't want to talk about, or they like there are stockholder proposals that are made at shareholder meetings, and I thought these were all good. Yeah, I wrote an article yesterday about this. Tesla board recommends shareholders vote against employee unionization, but on top of that, they voted. They're telling their shareholders to vote against reports on employee arbitration, anti-discriminatory and harassment efforts, board diversity, lobbying, child labor, and water risk. Like,
Um,
you don't want to tell us about child, like, what are you hiding about child labor or water risk or
that
diversity or
anti-discrimination. That sounds like,
yeah, which like
given the current history.
yeah, we've talked about what's happened at the Tesla factory. Like there are so many things in that list where I'm just like, I don't know what's going on.
That's real questionable right there.
That is, and for them not to ask a single question, no one asked a question about that.
Yeah,
I think
things that aren't going to go away.
that's pretty messed up. And as a shareholder, I don't own a whole lot of shares of this company. I have it in my retirement account that I bought like in 2012, right? I voted against every single thing they told me to vote for, and I voted for everything they told me to vote against. And I recommend other shareholders do that too. But I was very disappointed to not hear a single question about unionization, the collective bargaining rights of employees and stuff. Like, this company makes a shit ton of money now.
Yeah.
It's not a startup anymore. It is the largest automobile company by market cap. It has the best margins in the entire industry. They can afford an employee base that collectively bargains for their rights, and that's fucked up that no one mentioned that on the call. Uh, I think that a lot of people are just happy with sitting by and letting Elon do his thing because if you've held the stock for 10 years, you're up a lot. So I think there are people that yeah, you did miss the stray stream. This is if you're tuning in for cat butts, this is the wrong stream. Please understand.
The VOD should be up on YouTube by now, though, so you can
Mhm.
definitely hit it there.
Yeah, and I think Bill Lavoie also posted a speed runny kind of attempt at playing the game. It's like I think he beat it in like 2.5 hours or something.
Oh. Yeah, I guess I didn't know how long the actual game was. But
It's not that long, I guess, if you know what you're doing. And I mean, I never know what I'm doing. Yeah, I thought one of the last we can wrap up soon, but one of the last things that he said that I thought was humorous. He even thinks that the price of Teslas is too high. He said Tesla vehicle prices are frankly at embarrassing levels. And I'm like, you're the guy who raised the price. You're the guy who has 28% margins. Like, you don't have to do this.
that's some government gaslighting type of stuff right there.
Right?
Inflation levels are out.
Yeah, it's like Joe Biden blaming the gas station attendant for inflation. It's like, no, dude, you're the one. You're the reason it's like this. Like, don't act like that bothered me. But like frankly, at embarrassing levels. He said, we've raised our prices quite a few times. Yeah, you have. You've raised them a lot. And, I have a few friends who have asked me about buying Teslas and stuff, and I didn't talk them out of buying them because, like you said, some people just, I think there's some people out there that are able to separate the car from the CEO. It reminds me of the Apple days where some people hated Steve Jobs, but they liked the iPod or whatever. Um, I think it's similar in that sense. And in that case, I haven't seen like anyone say, "Oh, I'm not buying it," because as someone who already owns Teslas, I'm not that interested in buying another Tesla right now. Then again, they still owe me one, so
Yeah, I think
I'm
people
more.
see it as tech so much so that the Apple's comparison is pretty accurate in that
Yeah.
space.
So like, there's still people out there buying it, and I don't, I don't think that Elon said it multiple times on the call. Like, there is no demand problem. We can't make cars fast enough, but like all these things lined up and then you saying our prices are too high, it's like 28% margins and headline inflation's at 9%. There's room. You didn't have to raise your prices this high. It didn't. Like, when you have margins that high and their long-term target, Denny, like, this is 2012. They used to say we're shooting for 20% automotive gross margin. So they're above it right now. And I'm just like, at some point, guys, like, bring those prices down, because if they really want a world with sustainable vehicles and all that stuff, maybe 20%, 10% profit margins are better for that.
Maybe.
Maybe a more affordable Tesla would be out there someday. But yeah, I, I think it's disingenuous to say that when you have those kinds of margins, which are record margins. And not like, if you compare them to any other automaker, it's the highest margins in the industry. So for them to, I'm listening very carefully on these earnings calls to what CEOs and CFOs are saying about inflation, and this seems like a company that raised prices way higher than they needed to. And if inflation does come down later this year, you could see those margins expand because they're not gonna. You think they're gonna roll back every price increase? Like, no. So like I don't know. I hate that disingenuous stuff. They didn't really mention the dollar at all, which I thought was interesting. Uh, they actually didn't mention it once. They said they converted their Bitcoin to fiat currency, which is a weird thing to say. Uh, yeah, they made lease revenue of $588 million during the quarter, so that's something. But yeah, Dow Jones ran the story. Elon Musk wants to reduce Tesla vehicle prices. Like, that's a stretch. That's not what he said. But that's about it. Uh, Anyone in chat have any questions? Did I see the Juicy Fields scam? What's the Juicy Fields?
Yeah, I'm not sure what that is.
That appears to be cannabis. But yeah, Squires, check out Stray. There's all sorts of stuff there. Yeah, I think I'm done with Tesla today. I've done enough for Shacknews. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
got enough Elon time.
Yeah, I mean that's a lot of Elon news, and it wasn't Twitter related, so that was nice for a second. Like we could look at the company and see how they're doing, kind of thing. Um, Stock is currently at 700, almost 755 a share, so it's slightly up. I don't know how any analyst is going to listen to that call and have any idea of what price target to give it tomorrow. I do like this hat. Thank you very much. Uh, it seems appropriate for the pandemic times to have a DoomCon hat. But yeah.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
But yeah, I'm ready to get out of here so I can get some food and not be sitting in front of my computer. But
Same,
yeah. But yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in. You can follow us on social media. More Tesla news also. I've given you all the Tesla news I can, Scatterplot.
All the news he can. He's trying.
I don't know how much more. Let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 articles?
Jeez.
That's too many articles. We can't do it. But thank you for tuning in. Oh, it's Fragasm. Thank you. I can't. We need like some sort of a Twitch extension that can like translate Twitch names to Shack names, because I can't keep track of everyone. Especially with all the hate Shack messages I get, I can't keep track of everyone.
It's not a bad idea. A little converter.
A little converter would be nice. But then everyone have to opt in, and we know how people hate opting into things. So, I don't know.
Well, you guys know, we'll be covering the future earnings calls.
Yep.
So
we're going to cover... Yeah, we got Apple coming up. We got Facebook coming up. There's Google, Amazon, all the four horsemen of the tech apocalypse report in the next few weeks. Yeah, you can follow us on social media. You can follow us on YouTube. This will go up on YouTube. YouTube.com/ShackNewsGames. YouTube.com/GamerHubVideos. Twitter is reporting. Twitter's not going to do a conference call, I don't think. Because they're in shambles.
Yeah, there's a lot of...
That company is in rough shape.
A lot of things happening there.
You remember last quarter they restated their 3 years of user data, and then who knows what this has been a problem. I know it's not on topic with Tesla, but Elon. This Twitter versus Elon thing has been really tough because Elon's a D-bag, but the management at Twitter is also ridiculously incompetent. So there's no one to cheer for here. It's like both sides suck. And I feel bad for the shareholders.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is. He's destroying their reputation. He's destroying the value. They're going to go after him for that. I have a feeling neither entity is going to win this. Like, it's going to be a larger fine than the $1 billion, and it's not going to be them getting acquired. So Twitter's going to lose a ton of... Yeah, Twitter really is run by... I wouldn't call them D-bags. They're just incompetent. Like, they have never figured out how to monetize that platform in years. Like, they tried to copy Facebook's model, but they're not Facebook, so that didn't work. And then, like, it's been a revolving door in the C-suite of people who didn't really know how to monetize properly. I feel like Twitter's real value in this world is as a real-time crowdsourced search engine. And they never realized that. Like they're like, we're a social media company. We're gonna do Vine. We're
The
gonna do this. We're
archives
gonna
are strong.
Periscope. And it's like, no, monetize your search like Google does, and you could probably be profitable. And Twitter Blue is dumb. Like they haven't figured out. Yeah, I know. Twitter
I
Blue is
finally got a camera to work on this thing. At the very end of the stream.
me talking here. But yeah, Twitter Blue's dumb. So yeah, I don't know what we're gonna get out of Twitter. I doubt they're doing well right now because people are leaving, and
Those the people they fired.
yeah, the people who are stuck there are like super dismotivated. Like, how could you have any? Like, how could you be motivated working for that company right now?
Yeah, the work amount has to be super low.
Yeah,
When
because
people
like
are just being tossed out.
yeah, your
Without,
buddies are quitting or they're fired. Your CEO is like getting dunked on every day by Elon Musk. And like you had this all hands meeting with Elon Musk where he was just horrible. Like talking about just he was like the Grim Reaper talking to
yeah,
them. And yeah, I don't know what to expect from them this quarter. The
it definitely
early
it feels like a
we have
parody of itself. You
we
know.
have like Netflix as a read. Netflix did better than expected, but that stock collapsed this year. So it's like it was kind of a relief rally yesterday and today. Twitter has collapsed too, but this is right around the price that the news of the deal came out.
Mm,
So like we'll see. I don't expect anything good from Twitter tomorrow though, because they
I
like
don't
what
either.
could they have possibly done?
Yeah, I mean, there's still all the other competition out there that they claim they were going to try and make improvements to their own app, which still doesn't function properly half the time.
And just
Let's,
from my own personal use of the app, I have lost people on the platform. Like people are leaving.
yeah,
Like the Elon thing has made people deactivate their accounts. Some people are just using it less. But yeah, like that's going to change things. It becomes a less valuable place when people leave it. So,
yeah, I
yeah.
think that there's elements of Twitter that definitely still, make it work. I mean, obviously in news circles, but you can if you curate your circle kind of, you can get some real good functionality out of it. On top of the archiving and stuff like that, like you mentioned, it's just that
Yeah.
there's so much other things right now that are surrounding it that are just making it a place where people are like, why wouldn't we get associated with this or use this for whatever reason? But as a long time Twitter user with different accounts and different friends and circles and stuff like that, it can be really useful.
We don't know where the people leaving Twitter are going. My friends who have left, I've seen some go to Instagram. Some are going back to Facebook.
Yeah,
And some of them
Facebook.
just use Shack Pets now, and they don't use any other social media.
Yeah, shout out to Shack Pets.
Yeah. But yeah, like I use it for news. Oh yeah, one last Tesla thing before we go. They're branding their annual shareholder meeting, which is extremely douchey. But also, they're calling it the Cyber Roundup. And I just stop with the cyber stuff. Enough of this. I'm done.
I feel like if you're gonna brand an earnings situation, then there should be some kind of actual video content if you're gonna be doing all that. And also go all the way.
Cyber Roundup.
Like yeah, like I need Elon and then like the giant boardroom desk,
Yeah.
telling us about
Yeah.
how it's all about that
no.
lithium.
I think they're going to do it kind of like they did with the Cyber Rodeo, where it's going to be held at the Texas factory. So the Texas factory is now Tesla HQ.
Yeah,
So I think the Cyber Roundup will be there. I don't know if they're going to do another drone show or whatever. Like that was probably the coolest part of that whole thing.
I wouldn't be surprised if there was a drone swoop in shot of him in the middle of an
Yeah.
actual like range or something with some bulls running around in a circle before hitting to the main stage.
I could see all that happening, honestly, and I can't wait to cringe. I'm sure it's going to be cringy as hell, because Tesla moving to Texas is like one of the worst things.
They
Like
want
for their
that
brand.
beef foot forward or something,
It's going to be like Cybertruck, made in Texas, Texas,
Yeah.
Texas, Texas, pew pew pew. You
Get one of
know,
those
and
like brand ears,
yeah. Well, they
like
already
a
have a belt
yeah.
that's like Texas, Giga Texas. Uh, we do need a three. Oh wow, 3 years. Thank you,
Yo,
Justin.
sub hype.
Very very nice. Thank you for the
I feel
subs.
like I should
Thank
give
you,
you the air
Weekly
horn for
Pete.
that. Like 3 years.
Yeah, thank you, Skylar Black. There you go.
That's some dedication right there.
Thank Bezos. Thank you for giving us Jeff Bezos' money for 36 months in a row, though. That does help. God Emperor Jeff Bezos is pleased. But yeah, we'll see what happens. That I'm surprised the stock is up because that was a shady fucking quarter. Like they didn't beat on revenue. Their cash flow was manipulated by Bitcoin sale. They didn't even tell us what the effect of the Bitcoin sale was.
Very questionable actions happening there.
And if they didn't raise prices, Denny, guess what? They would have missed on earnings too. So it's like as someone who like looks through quarters for hair, this quarter has hair all over it. And I was just like, this is a bad quarter. It wasn't like I guess it's still good in the long term. Like you think about where this company was 10 years ago to now, I don't think anyone expected them to have $16 billion of sales in a quarter. So this is a huge W on the long term, I guess. But in the short run, I think there are a lot of problems. And they didn't really confidently answer that question about how you're going to address supply constraints because they're like we're going to make 50% more cars next year and the year after and the year after and the year after. But they didn't talk about how they're going to get there from the battery supply standpoint.
Yeah.
It's like that's a problem, and eventually they were going to run into that problem.
I mean, if you're Elon, or if you're in the mind state of Elon, do you think that do you feel like he's gonna be able to get out of this cloud in the next couple of weeks and then back to business as usual, or you think it's more of a he's hoping that it doesn't blow up any more than it has now?
I think it's a hope thing. I think they're just kind of like they're just sitting there hoping that things calm down, and then he has some of those like Tesla events coming up. He has the annual meeting, he has AI Day, and those are areas where he can really just talk about long-term things and not have to worry about battery constraints. But yeah, I think that I wouldn't be surprised if Tesla buys a lithium refining facility. Like they build a factory next to one or something. It wouldn't surprise me based on what they were talking about. Like how bullish he is on it. He's like, you could make a lot of money doing this. It seems like a hint on his part that they may just do it themselves. Like a lot of the time, and you can hate him or whatever, but like the Gigafactory itself, that concept is all about bringing as much of it in-house as possible. So it's more vertical instead of like a horizontal design of manufacturing. You become less dependent on supply chain
Yeah,
as a
I know they were
result.
giving that fast food comparison or whatever.
Yeah, but I think he gave us a lot of hints that they may be looking in that space, or I guess maybe we should pivot to being a lithium refiner. I don't know. Maybe we could do a phase SPAC. Shacknews and a lithium mine do a SPAC merger, and we're worth $1 billion the next day.
That would be quite incredible.
I don't know. It's really weird. Like being in a CEO role and like having to worry about funding or whatever, or like liquidity. I look at all these ridiculous financial instruments in the world, Denny, like SPACs, NFTs, crypto in general. And I'm just like, if I was like a piece of shit, I could just sell Shacknews as an NFT, the whole website.
Oh God.
What the hell? Like, I don't even know what that would mean, but I could probably do it. Or I could just buy some piece of shit company that's about to be delisted, and then, we did a SPAC. Now we're worth $100 million. It's like,
imagine waking up the next day and you're seeing like a NFT logo of Shacknews just like spinning and rotating, and like now
like
the newest
Shacknews.
NFT.
Shacknews lithium refining. It's like it just there is so much questionable stuff happening in the world of finance right now that it does kind of, it's a big flashing red light to be
Yeah.
cautious right now. And I'm not doing those things. I am instead deciding to lose money every month while
I don't. I
all these
don't.
charlatans go public with SPACs. And
I don't know. TJ's got a solid idea there. You know, Shacknews lithium. That is just replace the mercury.
I'm
Make
just saying,
moves.
like, I don't know if there's any lithium in Northeast Ohio or Chicago or whatever, but like, if we can refine it, Elon Musk says we can make software like margins, and I'm like, well, that sounds better than Shacknews like margins. But I don't know. It's not making an NFT. One exotic element for another. That's right. Instead, we pivoted to pet pictures, which there may be an infinite amount on Earth, but you know, at least we're not selling them as tokenized digital assets. Like,
You know,
they're just free. You can just use our app and look at pet pictures.
I
That
know
was
I
my
saw.
bright idea.
I know I saw like Valve mentioning that they were going to potentially have access or whatever, or have things going for the touchscreen or whatever for the at some point. I want
For
to say
Steam
like
Deck?
no, I mean like in the actual Teslas. I think like they were saying that there was
Oh yeah, yeah. They're working on putting. That's actually Tesla's working on getting Steam to run on it because it's a
yeah.
different chip architecture than I'm sure PCs are running. Uh, I've been able to play video games on my Tesla screen for years now, Denny. I haven't. I've done it once, and it was one that used the steering wheel as the input device, but the actual tires will leave marks on your driveway or your like wherever
Uh,
you're parked. So it's not really great. I know I think The Witcher is on it now or something, but I
I
don't
was
know.
gonna say like if it has some kind of like VR tie-in where you could like sit in the seat and then like
That'd
have
be
your
kind of
VR
cool.
headset in, like that would be actually
If we're
not a,
really headed to the robotaxi world, a VR headset in that car makes a lot of sense.
yeah.
But I just I am super skeptical of full self driving. Out of
There's
all
no
the
way.
snake oil that is sold by Elon Musk, that's the one. That's the Half Life 3.
But how do you think he would even handle a situation where things go wrong in that scenario? Like from if there is a major situation where it goes worst case scenario, like how do they recover from that? Uh,
Issue shares because this company is ridiculously priced right now. Like $700 billion market cap. So you could just one issue 1% of your float, you create $7 billion of liquidity there. That and I say that because that had been their go-to in the past. They haven't had to do it in a long time because they're profitable, they're cash flow positive, all those things. But if everything goes to shit at once, yeah, they'll raise capital by issuing shares. The other thing I think they could do, and this is more of like a moonshot to drive the price of their stock up, I think they could acquire SpaceX because then like you get the aspiration of space travel and energy all in one company. I think there are a lot of people out there who want to invest in everything Elon Musk does. So maybe he creates. There was talk about this when he was doing the Twitter acquisition that he was going to form a holding company, and then the holding company would go public. It was going to be called X, and you would have SpaceX, Tesla, Neuralink, Boring Company, and Twitter all under that
yeah,
umbrella.
you're
And that
basically
would
like
be
the
a
future tech, situation.
company the size of Apple, probably.
Yeah,
So I
that's
understand
giving
why he
some
would
big
do that.
Skynet energy right there.
Big time,
Like,
super big time. And yeah, like I think if we have billionaires that have over $100 billion of net worth, it's pretty clear capitalism has already failed. So we're well in the late stage of capitalism now. So now it's just like how corrupt do things get? To answer your question, Scatterblack, I think you can answer or you can plug in a USB controller. If not, I believe it's Bluetooth. But I haven't done it in a while. It's just I also think like the Model 3 and the Model Y screens are better for video games because they're like that horizontal, 16
yeah,
by 9, where like the X and the S have that big ass vertical display in the middle.
yeah, the Y is definitely better.
I think the Y is the best car that they've ever made. It's really great. It's a hit product. It's
Yeah.
undeniably popular. It looks good in certain colors. I think it looks better. I like it in blue. But yeah, Greg just got a Model 3. There's people out there still buying these things, and I do think that the increase in gas prices due to inflation and the war in Ukraine, that definitely has increased demand for their product.
Oh, for
Because
sure.
as someone who's had a car of theirs for like 10 years, 9 years, I guess, um, you save money. It's like 80% savings, you know, per fill up.
Mm.
So like a fill up being $60 goes down to 6 or even 10, depending on what state you're in. I think that's what do
Yeah, I
I think a
believe it.
Tesla bot? It's either just BS or it's the beginning of something that I think we've been waiting for, is that automation really comes after a lot of uh, manual labor, and that's, if you read sci-fi, this is happening. This happens in every sci-fi world. So
I mean, how many years before you think that if this Tesla's about is successful, that we get straight a game?
I don't know, man. I think we're, yeah, the Wall-E scenario. How far are we away from Wall-E? Probably 50 years. Like, we'll be old as fuck when that happens. So, but Tesla bot itself, I think they're going to use in their factory first. So you're
Yeah.
going to see Tesla bot learn to be a worker at Tesla, and then you'll start to see automation hit other places like food service, cleaning, which we've seen a lot of with iRobot already.
Mm-hmm.
So like cleaning, food service, maintenance. I had a Tesla tech come out here because the 12-volt battery in my Model X died. They said they're preparing to fix Tesla robots because the Tesla robot's going to put them out of a job. So,
Mm.
someone who works for Tesla in service thinks that they're going to be replaced by Tesla bot in the near future, and that their pivot is to work on repairing Tesla bots. So,
Jeez.
I mean, it's kind of true though. Like, we're gonna go that way, and Teslas are already made by a lot of robots. Their factories use more robots than any other factory I've ever seen in my life. So, yeah, service the bot. That's gonna be a thing. Um, Also, I think Tesla bot could bring down modern society if you can have sex with it.
Oh my god. I can only imagine the ridiculous liability in that situation.
Oh
Like,
yeah, oh yeah.
just out of control.
But people will just hit that user agreement, and they won't even realize that they said they can't sue Tesla if their junk gets chopped off by a robot.
See, that's the thing in general. I mean, both with like the auto driving and then like with the idea of a bot and stuff like that, is that there's one thing when you have a situation where things go wrong, but not in the culture and generation we live in. If that gets caught on camera, like it spreads instantly, and then there's just a spiral effect where I don't know how you survive a lot of that if it continues to happen, like on a rollout. Like it would be catastrophic.
I agree, but I really do think that with the advent of virtual reality and robots and sex toys, we're headed this way, man. Like, because everyone's gonna be out of a job anyway, so you're gonna have to do something.
Like there'd be all kind of like there'd be some union talks amongst the porn stars if that happened. And like,
Seriously.
look,
Yeah, AR, VR, robotics, all this all merge into one product, and Tesla's the one that. Because Elon's been asked about this, if you could fuck the robot, and he was like, "Yeah, I guess so." I was like, "Man,
the way
it's
that
like,
Elon's going, he might just start up his own Playboy mansion just full of Tesla bots and just have them just strolling around.
yeah, I don't know. Maybe because he's such a, I can't remember what that I can't remember what the term is for what he is. Those people who think that like they have to repopulate the Earth.
Oh yeah,
Maybe he's going to be anti-robots that you can have sex with. It's hard to say yet. His ex-wife did play a sex bot in Westworld. That is true. So was that was 2 wives ago. I can't keep track. I try to stay out of his personal stuff when it comes to us reporting.
Understandable.
Like who cares? When he breaks rules, when he breaks the law, yeah, we should report on that. Like what happened over at SpaceX. But outside of that,
Yeah, when they're
we write him
dodging
off.
the child labor talks and
That's right.
anti-discrimination.
Tallulah Riley. She was in Westworld. That's right. But either way, like Tesla bot, also known as what is it? Is he Optimus? It's like a Black Mirror episode waiting to happen.
That's why I see a lot of this. I just think Black Mirror, some of the things he says.
The robo taxis, like I don't know. Have you been to Japan?
I have not. It's one of my dream
Hey, we're gonna have to get you to
trips.
Japan one of these days. There's this intersection in Shibuya. It's called Shibuya Crossing. It's like maybe the busiest automobile intersection on Earth. Until Tesla can, a full self-driving Tesla can handle that intersection, I don't believe in it. And until a Tesla full self-driving car can handle rain, I'm not going to believe in this future. Because right now, they're betting everything they have on vision, computer vision, being the answer for this. I live in Ohio. The weather here sucks 8 months of the year, right? Like, horrible. There are times where it's pouring down so much that my auto driving thing tells me you cannot use us right now. Our sensors are not effective right now. And it's gonna rain in the future.
Yes, it is.
So, like, you can't... They went away from LiDAR, away from radar, and bet entirely on computer vision. And I'm like, that's a dangerous bet because you're not always going to be able to see. That rear view camera that I have, it gets covered in water within 10 minutes of being in a storm.
Yeah, see, that's the part I'm talking about. You know, when you're buying this new Cybertruck, and what if you're living in those kind of conditions, like here, where it could be a blizzard at any time after October like 15th.
It's why I don't trust it. And like, admittedly, I don't have FSD. I have autopilot in my car. I've been on the highway using autopilot where I had that ghost deceleration because it thought it saw something in front of me. You have that happen a couple of times to you, you will stop using that shit. I also, like, Canton doesn't have the best streets, right? So a lot of our edge lines are just not there.
Yeah.
This thing still struggles with that. And it'll be like, you were about to pull off the road. And it, like, jerks you to the other side. I'm like, I was not. I was fine. Like, the car...
Yeah.
It's like, there's two sides of it. It's not cautious enough, or it's too cautious. But either way, it's going to not be as good as a human being driving the car. And this technology has to be like, I don't know how many decimal points. Like 20 decimal points from 99.9999999, effective before people are going to be comfortable sleeping in their car while it drives them or some shit. Like, I don't think we're there yet. And I think the bet on computer vision is a dangerous bet that they made because it was cheaper at the time and they already had the tech in the car at the time.
Do you think that, like, competitors that don't have that kind of tech would take advantage of selling point, like we're offering what they aren't from the tech side? I mean, because if I'm a Ford truck driver and I know I spend time, driving through off road and stuff like that, is Tesla really going to be able to sell me on any of their vehicles?
I don't know. And also, I think that the F-150 Lightning versus the Cybertruck is going to be a really interesting battle because the F-150 is the most popular vehicle of all time. It's an EV now. It can power your house now. But yeah, I think the problem is there's no one in the automobile industry who's investing in self-driving like Tesla is. The people investing in self-driving are Google and Intel and Nvidia. So one of those companies is going to have to partner with an OEM, or maybe you could argue Apple, but who the fuck knows what Apple's doing with their cars? I think that's a red herring. I don't think Apple's making a car. But like, yeah, there is a there's going to be, yeah, I like driving my car. I agree with you. Like that's another point. Like Americans, on the open road, like going to the drive-through, or here in Ohio, we can get beer in a drive-through. Like that's like people like doing that. It's like a freedom thing. So I do think there's going to be a pushback on that front. But I also think just the tech. Uh, I can't remember who Intel bought, but there was a company that had really been like the experts in lidar
Hmm.
that they acquired. I think it was like Magic Eye or something. Um, Let me see. Intel.
But even with like the robo taxi idea, it's like, are those gonna only run during a certain season, or
Mhm. I can't remember the name of the company, but Intel's made some Mobileye. Mobileye, thank you. Yeah, Mobileye is kind of a combination of lidar and computer vision. So I think Intel has tech, and then they could license that tech to OEMs. Nvidia is working on some tech. Um, where I think Nvidia's solution was that you would have robo taxis, but there would be like a call center solution where people could take over any car at any time,
mm,
which I'm sure that would go well. And then yeah, there's Tesla out there, Google with Waymo. Uh, but the one thing Tesla has going for them is their way that they're building out their full self driving. It's a machine learning neural net that's using every single vehicle for data collection. So every Tesla out there is sending them information back. So they probably know more about bumps in the road or curves on specific streets than
yeah,
anyone else. And it's about retraining the AI. So I do think eventually AI will get good enough for this, but I question his optimism because every time he's like, "Oh, it's going to be like 6 months from now, 6 months from now, 6 months from now." He's been saying that for like 4 years. So
yeah.
it's
This
like
is no,
clearly,
there's no way, bro.
yeah.
Like, I don't see it.
No, I'm not buying it either. And that to me is why I question the stock's value here because I think a lot of the stock is building in the robo taxi future. With if you back out the robo taxi from this company, what is it worth? It's probably still worth 300, 500 billion dollars. It's a valuable company, but it was over $1 trillion last year, which I thought was way ahead of schedule for a company of its size, at least in revenue. But yeah, uh, yeah. What's more likely, a robo taxi or a robot that you can have sex with? I'm gonna say the robot, and that could still make them a lot of money and bring down society.
Oh man, you might have a point there. I'm gonna hit you with this. All right, but we're gonna just have to hope that the investments go the right way here in
Yeah,
the
and then
future.
like Apple releases a rival robot.
Oh my god, yo, Apple would be out of control with
I
all
don't
like
know.
all the tie-ins.
Apple
Man,
proprietary robot that they ship. That's what I mean. Like, you know how tech is a copycat industry. So whenever Elon does come out with this, Honda has Osimo already, so they're gonna be like, "Here's our new Osimo, and you can have sex with it too." And then there's gonna be
we'll see Amazon making an actual physical Alexa.
yeah,
Just it's like Alexa the sex doll.
hmm
It will be out of control.
yeah. So we'll see what happens. But I honestly think, to your point though, because so few car companies are directly invested in full self driving, like they're using other tech. Uh, I think I think they're at risk of being acquired by a tech company. Like I
Mm.
think Google could acquire Ford, or Apple could acquire Ford, or GM could be acquired.
That would be. I don't even know how to fathom that in my brain. Like Ford being purchased by Apple, that would be ridiculous.
I know it sounds absurd, but you look at the numbers and they're there. Like they could do it. I think that the reason we haven't seen it happen yet is that all these auto companies have legacy tech, like
Mm.
combustion engine factories, that no one wants to buy a combustion engine factory right now. And that's mainly what Ford is. And that's mainly what GM is. That's mainly what Honda is and Toyota is. So
We know that Apple had like their commitment to the same with like Google and Amazon committing to trying to be more green across the
yeah, and
board by certain dates.
Amazon could acquire Rivian. They already had a stake in them, and Amazon. I thought Amazon, because they're the largest delivery company now or whatever, I bringing that all internally. Like you see those vans that just have Amazon written on them
Yeah.
now. Automating that would be an obvious thing for them. I remember that video where they're like, "We're going to deliver stuff with drones," and then they never did because
Yeah.
that was stupid. Yes, Honda's robot is called Asimo. It's ASIMO, not AWESLME -O. But yeah, should get out of here. Let's get out of here. That's
Sounds
enough
good to me.
Tesla. It's enough Tesla for today.
There's still plenty of time for Shack Pets, though.
There is.
Let's Tesla up more Shack Pets.
Seriously, let's Twitter more Shack Pets. Let's see what's going on the latest pets right now. Still Leia, Donovan's doggo.
I got some ones that roll out soon. You know,
You guys don't even know. I've been holding back since we launched this thing. I have so many Lola pictures. I could dominate this platform tomorrow if I really wanted to. And I'm being nice. I'm letting 8 Mikey win. I'm like, oh,
look. Also basically has he has a Thanos gauntlet right here. All right, of just all Lolas, and he's like, look, all right,
Lola picture.
I'm gonna give you all a chance here before I snap. All right, just
Go back and read Evening Reading when I was writing it. Every single evening reading ended with a Lola picture. They're just waiting. They're just standing by to dominate you in Shack Pets right now. But yeah, I've been good. I haven't pulled that. I haven't snapped. I haven't done any of that yet, but it's coming. But yeah, check out Shack Pets. Check out the site. We had a tremendous coverage of today's Tesla news. Yesterday we covered Netflix's news. Tomorrow we'll cover Twitter. We're going to be covering all the finance news you can handle over these next few weeks. Obviously, we are the #1 video game website to come for GameStop news because we don't inject editorial into every headline. And yeah, that's about it. I'm gonna go eat because I'm.
sounds good.
Yeah. Thank you for the stream, Denny, and thanks to everyone for watching. Thanks to all those subs out there, all the new follows. I wasn't in here when you were streaming the call because I was breaking out stories and doing all that. But yeah, I saw we got a decent amount of follows here. We have nice viewership. We enjoy doing this stuff. I think it's always great. So thank you for streaming, Danny.
Good times. All right, everyone. See y'all next time. We're gonna roll out of here, but enjoy this awesome Shack Pets thriller. And see you next time.
Ah!